Alright, so Red Dawn. Notice that I'm here by myself. I couldn't get anyone to go see the remake of Red Dawn with me, which is amazing because, oh, what movies have I gotten people to see? Oogie Loves, Smurfs, The Zookeeper, Medea, but Red Dawn, that's the one that I had some trouble getting anyone to go with me. Actually, I mean, really, it was just timing. You know, tomorrow is Thanksgiving. I'm shooting this Wednesday night. I just got back from it like an hour or so ago. So some people were just out of town doing family stuff. Some people were at work. I went to go see an evening show. It was largely because of that. I just thought that was pretty funny. So there I am. One for Red Dawn, the remake of Red Dawn. Wow, that's what is it? It's sat on the shelf for 3 years now. Which I guess doesn't really mean anything. I mean, you can have a movie that sits on the shelf that long, and it'll turn out to be fine. There can even be Chris Hemsworth movies that sit on the shelf for a while that turn out to be good. Like Cabin in the Woods, how long was that on the shelf? Well, if Cabin in the Woods was the best held over Chris Hemsworth movie, this one not so much. You know, I will say, hey, I should start with the original. You know, it's a remake. I should say what my thoughts on the original movie are. The original movie, it's fucking Red Dawn. What else do I have to say? It's pretty awesome. Red Dawn is by no means the original. The original Red Dawn is by no means a masterpiece. It's by no means a perfect film. But, and here's the thing, and here's why the original Red Dawn succeeds, is that it succeeds at being Red Dawn. That's for those of you who have seen Red Dawn and like it very much, which I do too, you totally get that. You know, you totally get what I just said there. You go into the original Red Dawn wanting Red Dawn, and that's what you get. You get Red Dawn. And so yeah, it's an imperfect film, but it's entertaining as hell. It's genuine, and to remake Red Dawn is just kind of weird, because, I mean, Red Dawn is very much, it's a product of its time. And I don't mean that in a bad way, because I like a lot of movies like that. Remaking Red Dawn is just kind of like, it's like remaking, I don't know, Rocky IV, White Knights, the day after, Special Bulletin, you know, stuff like that. You know, they're a reflection of the time period that they were made in, and I do like a lot of those movies. I find a lot of them to be very fun. And in terms of Red Dawn, I'm just a John Milius fan. I like John Milius a lot. He's like the awesome kind of crazy, you know. I like his flicks. Big Wednesday is one of my favorite movies, and in terms of him as a writer, Magnum Force is awesome. 1941. That's right, I fucking said 1941. 1941's fucking great, and Milius fucking wrote it. So I like the guy, and Red Dawn, the original Red Dawn, is you know, I mean, that's one of the key differences, you know, between this remake and the original Red Dawn, is that, like, you know, this one, it's made for a quick buck. It's just a generic action flick. But the original, it's like, you know what? I think John Milius really expects this shit to happen. You know, with a guy like Milius behind it, you know, it was at least genuine. You know, the guy behind the camera was like, okay, he might think that this is going to happen someday. And again, product of the time. There was some paranoia that went around back then. Duck and cover and shit like that. This one, it's not good. It isn't. I heard nothing but bad things about this movie. It didn't look good to me at all. You know what I will say, though, is that the movie is not... It wasn't as awful to sit through as I thought it would be. Now, don't get me wrong, it sucks. This new Red Dawn sucks. And like most remakes, it's gonna be forgotten, and from years on down the road, we're all still gonna be talking about the original. And what I've always felt was one of the worst things about remakes, and this doesn't really have anything to do with whether the remake is good or bad. It's just that from now on, every time you mention 1984 Red Dawn, you have to specify the original Red Dawn. Oh, I hate doing that so fucking much. My favorite horror movie is the original Dawn of the Dead, and now because of that fucking movie, I gotta say the original Dawn of the Dead. So that I find to be one of the biggest annoyances about remakes, that you always have to specify the original now. I know it's only 2 extra words, but it's really annoying. But here is the main reason why this movie is insufferable for me to sit through. Really, like, I was just in the theater and out. It was 90 minutes. Like, there were a couple times where I got pretty mad, and I'll talk about that later. But for the most part, it was just kind of generic. But here's the thing. The acting in the movie is, like, really good. Is, like, pretty good. I can't tell if that... I think that might be a little crooked. Sorry. So probably didn't fix it. But, like, the acting in this thing is surprisingly really good. Like, Chris Hemsworth, his performance is way too good for this movie. He carries this film. I mean, he's a good actor anyway. I haven't seen a movie where I thought he did a bad job, and he is a very good actor, and he's very good in this. He's so good that it's like he's unaware of how bad the movie is around him. But he's not the only good performance in the movie. Everyone else really is too. Josh Peck, I think is the kid's name, who's Hemsworth's brother in the film. He's good. He's good in the movie. Josh Hutcherson, the Hunger Games kid, he's, whenever they give him any lines, he's fine. Jeffrey Dean Morgan turns up in it. He's really good. The acting sometimes makes you sort of forget you're watching a pretty crummy movie. They really do they carry their roles in this. So this, and you're watching it like these performances are kind of wasted on this movie, because really this is the kind of modern day action dreck that, like, Taylor Lautner should have starred in, or something like that. Not these, like, legitimate actors. So anyway, that's a positive thing that I can say about it. The actors are really good here. I mean, you could easily make the joke of, like, you know, the original was a who's who of actors from the day, and in this one it's a who's who. You know, you could easily kind of make that about some of the actors in it, but truth be told, they're fine. They really are. And believe me, I did want to be that sarcastic about it when I went in, because I'm an asshole. But no, they were fine. It's just the rest of the movie really kind of falls apart, and I mean, if you've seen Red Dawn, you know the story. We get invaded. In the original, it was the Cubans and the Russians, and in this one, it's the North Koreans and the Russians a little bit. And this movie was made, again, like I said earlier, this movie was made 3 years ago. So in between that time, the villains are they're supposed to be the Chinese in it. But they're not. In post-production, they changed it to the North Koreans. Because, sure, why not? I read what the reason was, but I forgot. But anyway, so that's honestly kind of distracting. Because in post-production for this movie, they kind of reshot some stuff. They dubbed lines over to have them say North Korea or the North Koreans. And they digitally added, like, North Korean flags to scenes. Now, if I didn't know that going in, I wouldn't have noticed. I wouldn't have. it wasn't that blatantly obvious. But knowing that going into the movie, it makes it very, very, very distracting. Because whenever the word North Korea or North Koreans are mentioned, there's not an actor on screen who's saying it. It's a voiceover, narration, a news clip, or the actor is off screen saying it. And your eyes are always drawn to the flags whenever they show up in the scene. Your eyes are kind of always drawn to them, knowing that they were later digitally put in there. So that's very fucking distracting. Now, if I can really sum up why the original one works so well and why this one doesn't, it's really in the opening sequence. Now, take the opening invasion sequence from the original Red Dawn. That's a great fucking scene. It's quiet, it's really kind of creepy, and sort of terrifying in a way. And Milius did a fantastic job doing that, because Milius knows subtlety, whereas whoever the fuck made this, not so goddamn much. It's about as subtle as an actual fucking invasion from another country. The original, they're all looking out the classroom window and they see the paratroopers come in. They go outside and the principal, the teacher gets shot and shit. And then there's some chases. The kids go off to the woods. It's stunning looking when they all kind of come down like that. In this one, I was actually in the theater pissed off because, like, if you need a prime example of how an 80s action movie worked so well and a modern day action movie just doesn't fucking get it, then it's comparing these two sequences. Because in this one, a snow globe starts just fucking shaking, like there's dinosaurs and shit outside, and then Hemsworth and his brother look out the window, and it's like CGI parachuters all over, just blanketing the fucking sky, like all over the place. It seriously looks like an alien invasion movie from like Outer Space Invaders. That's what it fucking looks like here. Holy shit. It doesn't look like they've been invaded by North Korea. It looks like they've been invaded by a fucking Michael Bay movie. That's exactly what it fucking looks like. Whereas in the original one, where it's taut, it's suspenseful, it's kind of creepy, like I said. In this one, they're running outside, the shaky cam's going all over the place. There's a jet that just blows up in midair, and half the jet like fucking crashes into the neighbor's house and shit. There's a fucking car chase. One person gets flown through the window, I don't know who it was, and they crash into like the North Korean's truck and shit like that. All the action sequences in this movie are fucking shaky cam shit. That's all of them. You can't tell what the fuck is going on in any of the fucking action sequences in this film. Now, I mentioned that the acting is good, and it is. It is. But the characters aren't very good in this movie. Like, really, when you break it down, Hemsworth's character, he's there to give a lot of speeches to teach him how to shoot weapons in a 2-minute montage. And there isn't much to any of the characters when you really boil it down. But the performance is good. And like I said, the performance is better than the character, the writing, the direction, the movie in itself. So, when you have some characters die in this movie, I didn't know who got killed. You obviously have Hemsworth as the lead, Josh Peck as the co-lead, Hutcherson just because you recognize him from other movies. I mean, he really doesn't say all that much in this other than he's the one who screams out, "Wolverines!" Other than that. But when other characters in this movie, when supporting characters get shot and killed, which doesn't happen that often, but when it does, I didn't know who got shot. I didn't know what their names were. I didn't know anything about the character. I just didn't fucking know. I couldn't tell who was getting killed. And even if they didn't get killed, I dare you, for anyone who goes to see this, to name 5 of the characters' names in this movie. I know Jed. That's it. And I don't even think I knew his name, or I don't think I heard somebody say his name until over a half an hour into the movie. And in the original one, the characters, they were kids. You know, they're kids put into this very bleak situation. And the original film is very bleak. They're put into they're forced into this situation, and they try, you know, they make the best of things, but they're, at the end of the day, they were kids. They weren't trained soldiers. They weren't anything like that. They were clearly amateurs. In this, they're straight out of fucking Call of Duty. Call of Duty is even title dropped in the dialogue. Like, oh man, what are you gonna do when all this is over? Oh, I'm gonna hug my grandma. What about you? Oh man, I'm gonna play Call of Duty. Oh, what do you mean, man? But we're playing Call of Duty for real. Woo! That's it. Like, after just a quick montage, they're ace sharpshooters and shit. They can rig C4 to a fucking skateboard. They can rig C4 to just about fucking anything. They can shoot rocket launchers and shit. I mean, I know they handled weapons in the original too, but in the original they were amateurs doing this. In this one, no, they're fucking SEAL Team 6. Oh man, they are just fucking ace Marines and shit in this movie. They're handling weapons that are fucking taller than me and like not getting blown back at all. They're fucking standing there like seriously like like fucking oh god, why am I blanking on the name? Jesse Ventura. They're like fucking Jesse Ventura from fucking Predator. Ain't got time to bleed. And shit like that. Like, when the actual Marines show up in this, it's like, well, they don't really need them. They kind of are already. Jeffrey Dean Morgan basically plays the Powers Booth part from the original. And the editing in this thing is also kind of weird. You just get the sense that, like, a half an hour was cut out of this movie. And a lot of plot points seem to have been sacrificed because of that. And also other weird editing shots, too. Like, at one point, Josh Peck and his girlfriend are in, like, her car, and it's a two-shot, and then there's an edit, it cuts, and it's still a two-shot, but it's just a closer two-shot, which is weird. And his head is in a completely different position than it was before, to where it looks like something was cut out of this conversation. Other things, too, like, that just go nowhere. Like, when they first meet together in the cabin, once they all escape, there's a guy there who's an asshole, who steals some of their food and leaves, and then he takes the Koreans there to the cabin. And then later on in the movie, they see that the guy who was one of their high school classmates is working with the North Koreans as they've gotten some citizens to kind of work with them. That goes nowhere. That makes up like 10 seconds of this movie. He's immediately fucking blown up by C4 on, I don't know, a fucking Nerf gun. I don't know. They do use Nerf guns and super soakers in this. They use this to train. I don't know how that's going to help. If one of them has a water allergy, then sure, maybe. But yeah, they bring out super soakers and shit in this movie. And anyway, so there's that. And also, they're really, for a movie that's about an invasion from another country, it really has no villain. Like, there is a guy who's in charge of everything. And unfortunately, they do nothing with him. Because the guy, when he talks, he's good. He's a good actor. He's got a good look to him. He is sinister looking. He is intimidating looking. When it first shows him and he's got a handgun, he's just kind of walking towards a car shooting, he's good. He carried himself well in that. I found him to be intimidating. But they do nothing with him. He just is kind of standing there, barks out some orders, gives a sinister look to Hemsworth at one point, and that's it. Like, it was a wasted opportunity to have a pretty good villain there. And also, they bring the Russians in to help them out with counterinsurgency. Again, nothing done with that. It just shows the Russian guy a couple of times. He puts a tracker on one of the Wolverines and sends him off, and that's like the last you see of him. There's no climax to that whatsoever. They find the tracker on the one kid and send him off on his own because they can't get the tracker out of him. That's the last you see of him. You don't know what happened to this. Did they find him? Did they kill him? It just flash forwards like months later, and Josh Peck is giving another speech. The movie doesn't have an ending. It just kind of ends. It ends with a speech. Josh Peck gives a speech. They get some more people to join the Wolverines, and they start shooting up a prison camp, and that's it. It shows a person running with an American flag, and the movie ends. And this one, whereas the original film, like, had balls to kill off, if not all, then most of its main characters. It's been a little while since I've seen Red Dawn. Like, didn't all of them die at the end of that? Like, most of them, at least. Most of them fucking die in the original Red Dawn. This one, again, a couple do, but fuck me if I could tell you their names. This one, but I will say that, and I'm gonna get into some spoilers here. But before I get into that, like, when anybody dies in this, it's an off-camera death. Like, people get shot in the head and the camera cuts away and shit like that. Like, I can't harp too much on the movie being PG-13 because the original was a PG-13. Granted, the original was shot for an R, and it was the first movie to be released with a PG-13, so it was a rougher PG-13 than this one is, but pretty much everything was a little rougher back then. So, and I mean that in a good way. Shit, you could have tits in a PG movie. But anyway, so with that being said, like their dad in this, like, gets shot at the beginning of the movie, and it cuts away when he gets shot in the head. And it's just, all this happens pretty quick. You don't get a sense of a lot of the relationship between the father and his kids, because the father gets killed 15 minutes into this. So unfortunately you don't get any like, "Avenge me" scene or anything like that. You don't really get that, unfortunately. "Avenge me." No, you don't get any avenge me in this. But again with the weird editing too, because the dad gets shot and they're all watching him from a distance with binoculars and shit, and then cut to the next scene, and for some reason their truck got stranded in a swamp and they're pushing it out. It seems like something is missing in between those fucking scenes. So, but anyway, where I was going with that is, there is a lead, and this is spoilers here, there is a lead character who does die in this. I might as well say, Hemsworth. Hemsworth gets shot in this, but it's so pussified that you can't tell if he's dead, because he's walking into the next room, and just bam, just shot by a sniper or something from where the fuck ever. And he keels over, is on the ground, and the character's his brother's crying, so I guess he's dead, but we don't see any blood or anything like that. There's very little blood in this fucking film. There's very little fucking blood in this movie, so you're like, is he actually dead? Oh, I guess he is dead. He's not in the rest of the movie. So, with that character dying in this, I thought that was done a little better in this than in the original, and I only say that because when he dies in this, again, their base has been found out, which that happens a lot in this fucking movie. Like, seriously, like, North Koreans just show up at every base that the Wolverines have, and you're sitting there like, at least in this, you know how they found it because of a tracker, but even before the tracker, it's serious, like, how did they know they were fucking there? How did they fucking know that they were there? And maybe it's because they rob a Subway at one point and somebody followed them. Yeah, there's a nice Subway product placement in here where they hold up a Subway to get food. Maybe when this was made 3 years ago, they were using a Hardee's, I don't know, and they changed it to Subway. So, when Hemsworth dies, he stands up, walks down the hall, clipped by a sniper. Okay. If there's one thing that always annoyed me about the original, is that when Swayze dies at the end of that, he pretty much dies by his own fucking stupidity. Like, he sneaks up behind a dude, he sneaks up behind a soldier, and he has the gun on him, and then just goes like that, giving the other guy enough fucking time to fucking shoot him. He could have just shot him. He could have just walked behind him and shot him. But since it was a movie, he's like, and then he gets killed by his own fucking stupidity. That always annoyed me about the original film. In this one, no, that doesn't really happen here. So I mean that was better, but it's telegraphed so fucking from a fucking distance that he's going to get killed because he finally tells his brother how much he loves him. He's finally going to go make his move on the pretty girl, and bam, shot, dead. So I don't know what else I got about this movie. I didn't, like I said, I went into this thinking I was going to be in pain. And I wasn't. It still sucks. It's forgettable. I'm glad I'm talking about this 2 hours having seen it because fuck me, I'm going to forget about this movie before too long. And they had to have made this movie knowing it's not going to stack up against the original. Why fucking bother? I get it. They want to make money. They just want to make a quick buck off of the name Red Dawn. Okay, alright. But you could at least make it, try to make it good. You know, you could try to make it fairly decent. Hey there. But what they got good performances out of it. I'll say that. Acting's good. The acting's good in the movie. That actually made it watchable. I mean, like, it made it not a pain. It's not worth spending your money on, but that made me not quite so angry watching the movie. That, and when the movie was over, when they're taking over the prison camp at the end of it, when the movie was over, it fades to go to the credits, and some guy in the audience, it was actually a fair amount of people in the audience, this fucking guy in the audience, once the movie ends, some guy in the audience is just, America! Slouch. America! I wonder if it was the same guy who was, like, clapping all the way through Battleship. I don't know, but the audience started laughing. I don't think it was the guy, who in Battleship, because that guy was pretty genuine. The guy who was screaming out, America! There's some young guy in the audience, I think, just being a smartass, but it made me laugh. It made me and everyone else in the audience laugh. So that maybe you had to be there, but I thought that was pretty funny. Anyway, it's about all I got on Red Dawn. I don't really think I have anything else. It's exactly what the trailers made it look. Not good. Not good at all, really. Good performances, like I said, but skip this one. I'm going to take a break, and I'll be back with the trailers. Alright, and I'm back to talk about the trailers. Sorry if the camera was a little tilted in the previous segment. I think I fixed it alright. Still feels weird doing this by myself. I mean, I know I did a lot of these by myself before, but it's so used to having somebody here. Again, it was very hard to find somebody to go see the remake of Red Dawn. So the trailers for the movie that we got before this, of course, Mama, which is the trailer that I've been getting at every fucking movie. There's always that one movie that until the movie comes out, you are going to see the trailer for that thing no matter what the fuck you go to. The only thing was that, like, I didn't see the trailer before Twilight, but that's because that audience doesn't like horror trailers playing before it. although there's a similarity between Twilight and the remake of Red Dawn. They both have opening credit sequences, which, I mean, I've been saying, you know, like they need to bring back the opening credit sequence. Too many movies don't have opening credit sequences anymore. Red Dawn does. Twilight does. Can we start putting them in better movies now? But anyway, so it's at the point where I don't even go to the bathroom before the movie. I just wait for the Mama trailer to come up, and I go during that. And it's not like I think that movie looks bad. I'm just sick of seeing the fucking trailer for it. It was the same thing with Taken 2. Taken 2 ended, and now I'm getting the trailer for Mama at every movie I go see. I want this movie to come out so I can stop seeing the trailer for it. We got the full trailer for Jack Reacher, which looks fun. That's a fun. That looks fun. I'm interested in seeing that one. The full trailer for Jack Reacher, Brian and I got before Skyfall, but we went like 52 minutes talking about Skyfall, so I just didn't have a segment in there where we talked about trailers because that would have put it at like 100 minutes. But I got The Lone Ranger, or The Lone Ranger starring Tonto. I didn't know that this was a trailer for The Lone Ranger until the end of the trailer, where it actually shows the Lone Ranger. Before that, it's just a bunch of stock Western action shots. So the name Jerry Bruckheimer pops up in this more than the Lone Ranger does, and it's the title of the fucking movie. Tonto, of course, with him being played by Johnny Depp, pops up more than the Lone Ranger does. I didn't know what this was. For all I knew, Bruckheimer was remaking Heaven's Gate. But so yeah. It was a teaser trailer. Maybe in the full trailer for it, they can actually show the Lone Ranger in it, because it's a Lone Ranger movie, not Tonto with supporting appearance by the Lone Ranger. That I don't know about that. The remake of Carrie, we got the teaser trailer for that, which I'd seen that teaser a couple of times before, and it's just a teaser. You know, it shows the town on fire, and it shows her. It's hard. I mean, it's annoying. Like, remake of Carrie. Of course, they're remaking Carrie. At the same time, it has been remade before, and there was that shitty sequel. So this is just another Carrie movie. It isn't like, you know, the original just exists on its own, and then hey, we have this one. I mean, there already was a remake before, and there was that crappy sequel. So so there's just another one. The casting is good. Julianne Moore, Chloe Moretz. But I mean, with that being said, if there's one thing that I can usually say about most remakes, like even the shitty ones, is that usually the casting is good. You know, remakes tend to have a decent cast. I'll give them that. Even Chris Hemsworth, Jeffrey Dean Morgan in this one. I mean, those are two guys I like. Let's think off the top of my head. What's a really shitty ass? The remake of The Hitcher. Terrible, terrible fucking movie. Sean Bean plays the Hitcher. That's good casting. So a lot of times I'll see fairly decent casting in a lot of these remakes. So, I mean, that doesn't mean the movie will be good. And like, it shows the town on fire in it. So it's like, okay, they're doing the town on fire, like in the book, where she just sets the entire town ablaze. So they're taking that from the book, yeah. But I mean, because it's more accurate than, just because it will have something that's more accurate to the book doesn't mean it's going to be better than the original. The Shining miniseries proved that. I like the Shining miniseries. Give me my sweet clamshell of the original any day. I like how I just had that sitting there. But anyway, Parker, the Jason Statham movie. It's Jason Statham in it. It's a revenge movie. The bad guy is Michael Chiklis. There's a scene in the movie where Jason Statham's pretending to be a cowboy with a southern accent. Of course, yes, I'm going to be there to see Parker. It's the new Statham movie, of course. It's a little weird how Jennifer Lopez is also in it. That seems odd. That seems like an odd bit of casting. It seems almost out of place in a way, actually. she kind of looks like she's in a completely different movie that's not a Statham movie. That's like, I don't know. That's like saying, hey, there's this new movie coming out. It's starring Clive Owen and Miley Cyrus. I mean, I will say, like, before the whole music career thing, she did some movies I liked. Out of Sight, U-Turn, I like those. Those are fine. In Living Color. So, oops, sorry. So yeah, I'll be seeing Parker, new Jason Statham movie. I don't know what's coming up here with the holidays and everything. I've kind of lost track of what movies are coming up. But hey, whatever comes out next week, I hope it's Mama. Whatever comes out next week, I'll be there for. So anyway, I've said this a few times, given the amount of Thanksgiving videos I've put up, but today's Wednesday. I'm pretty sure I'll be putting this video up Thursday, so this will be Thanksgiving. So I hope you guys all have some good holidays and have a good weekend too. I'll see you next week. Wolverines.